Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Oh, yeah.
This time we're going to be talking about endometriosis research.
Okay.
Specifically, a recent study published in Science Translational Medicine that's generating a lot of buzz and has the potential to really change how we approach treatment for this condition.
It really does.
Yeah.
You know,
It's exciting stuff.
it is exciting.
And joining me today to break it all down is, well, an expert in the field.
Hi.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So let's just jump right in.
Okay.
You know how so many people
Right.
struggle to find long-term solutions
Yeah.
for endometriosis pain?
It's a huge problem.
It is a huge problem.
And it's something that we see so much in the clinic. People are just
Yeah.
desperate for some relief.
Yeah. And this research that we're talking about today might offer a glimmer of hope.
You might.
And it all seems to center around this molecule called CGRP.
Yes. CGRP. That's the star of the show today.
Now, you might have heard of CGRP before
You very well might have.
in the context of migraines,
Yeah.
of all things.
Isn't that interesting?
It is.
It turns out that
What?
CGRP plays a huge role in migraine pain.
Right.
And this is something that researchers have actually been looking at for a while. And what they found is that there's actually a genetic link between migraines and endometriosis.
Wow.
So they started to wonder,
Yeah.
could there be this common enemy in both conditions?
They found a clue?
Exactly.
And they're like, huh,
Yeah.
we're going to keep digging here.
Let's follow this trail.
Yeah, so for anyone who might need a quick refresher,
Right.
endometriosis is when tissue, similar to the lining of the uterus,
Yes.
grows outside of it.
Grows outside the uterus.
Yeah.
And it can grow anywhere, really.
Yeah.
Which is part of the problem.
It's kind of a mystery.
It is a bit of a mystery
Yeah.
why it does that.
So, but this tissue, it still reacts to hormones.
Absolutely.
Right.
Just like the lining of the uterus does.
Yeah, it thickens, it breaks down each month.
Exactly.
But the problem is it has nowhere to go,
it has nowhere to go.
which causes
All sorts of problems.
inflammation, pain,
Pain.
and these lesions that form.
The lesions are a big part of it.
Yes.
Because they can cause a lot of pain.
And as I'm sure anyone who has dealt with endometriosis knows, current treatments, like NSAIDs and hormone therapy,
Right.
don't always work for everyone.
They don't.
They can come with some pretty unpleasant side effects.
Absolutely.
Or they just don't provide enough relief.
Right.
And that can even lead to reliance on opioids in some cases,
Unfortunately.
which is, you know,
Not a good situation.
not ideal.
No.
So that's why this new research is so exciting, because it could lead to a whole new class of treatments
It really could.
that are more effective and hopefully have fewer side effects.
We're all keeping our fingers crossed for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
And this study really kind of dives into the nitty-gritty.
it does.
Hockey
It gets
stick.
down to the molecular level.
What's happening at the cellular level.
Yeah.
And one of the first things that they discovered
Okay.
is that these endometriosis lesions
Yeah.
are absolutely packed with nerves.
They are.
And including the ones that release CGRP,
That's right.
they actually found higher levels of CGRP in these lesions
Higher than in normal uterine tissue.
than in normal uterine tissue.
Yeah.
So, okay, so CGRP is clearly hanging out in these lesions.
It's there.
But is it just a bystander, or is it actually causing trouble?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it just there?
Yeah.
Or is it actually
Or is it up to no good?
up to no good?
Yeah.
That's what they wanted to find out.
So this is where we get to the fascinating world of nociceptors,
Oh, yes.
which are like the body's tiny little alarm bells for pain.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
Tiny little alarm bells.
So when something hurts,
Uh-huh.
the nociceptors start ringing the alarm.
Exactly. They're like, hey, something's wrong here.
Pay attention.
Pay attention.
Ouch.
Exactly.
And guess what they release when they're activated?
What could it be?
I'm going to take a wild guess
Okay.
and say CGRP.
You got it.
Ding, ding, ding.
CGRP is the signal that they send out to
Okay.
say, hey, we're in pain.
So the researchers in this study, they took material from actual mouse lesions
Okay.
and applied it directly to nociceptors in a dish.
In a dish, yeah.
So they took stuff from the lesions themselves
Mm-hmm.
and they put it on these pain-sensing nerves.
Yep. That's exactly what they did.
What happened?
Well, the nociceptors went crazy.
Really?
They started releasing a flood of CGRP.
Like it was an actual injury.
Yeah, like a blaring siren going on.
Wow. So this experiment really clearly shows
It does.
that the lesions themselves are directly triggering those pain signals.
It's pretty convincing evidence.
Okay, so we're starting to see how CGRP might be the bad guy here.
It's looking suspicious.
But there's another piece to this puzzle, right?
There is.
Something about macrophages.
Ah, yes, macrophages.
I always have trouble saying that word.
Go.
Macrophages.
Yeah.
So
Macrophages.
they're usually the good guys in the immune system, right?
They are. They're like the cleanup crew.
Yeah.
They go around gobbling up bacteria and debris,
Okay.
keeping things clean, helping with healing.
Like little Pac-Man.
Exactly like little Pac-Man.
I love that.
Yeah.
So what happens to these helpful little Pac-Man cells in endometriosis?
Well, it seems that CGRP might be turning them
Uh-oh.
into not so helpful ones.
Not so helpful.
Yeah.
They called these altered cells pro-endometriosis macrophages.
Pro-endometriosis macrophages.
Or PMs for short.
PMs.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound good.
It doesn't sound good, does it?
What did these PMs do that's so problematic?
Well, they basically make things worse on two fronts.
Okay.
First of all, they're not as good at cleaning up debris.
So the inflammation lingers.
The inflammation lingers, exactly.
Yeah.
And second, get this,
Well.
they actually encourage the endometriosis tissue to grow. Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's a double whammy.
It's a double whammy.
So we've got CGRP
Uh-huh.
amping up pain signals
Yes.
and then also messing with the immune system.
It's like it's creating this perfect storm
Yeah.
for endometriosis to thrive.
To create an environment where those painful lesions can thrive.
Exactly.
Not a good combo.
Not a good combo at all.
But I'm guessing the researchers didn't just stop there.
Oh, no, they didn't.
Okay.
They had to figure out what they could do about this.
Right. Because what's the point of knowing all this if you can't do something about it?
Exactly. You've got to find a solution.
All right, so let's talk about what they did next.
Okay.
What did they find?
Well, they knew they had to explore potential treatments.
Okay.
And this is where things get really, really interesting. So they focused on 4 FDA-approved drugs.
FDA approved.
Yeah,
So these are drugs that are already out there.
that's right, already out there.
Wow.
And they target CGRP or its receptor, RAMP1.
Okay, now I'm going to need you to back up for a second because I'm not familiar with RAMP1.
Okay, so
What is that?
think of it this way. CGRP is like a key,
Okay.
and RAMP1 is like the lock.
Okay.
So CGRP needs to bind to RAMP1
Mm-hmm.
in order to do its thing,
Got it.
which in this case is causing pain and inflammation.
So if we can block either the key or the lock,
Exactly.
then we can stop CGRP from doing its thing.
That's the idea.
Okay, so these 4 FDA-approved drugs that they were looking at,
Yep.
they're blocking either CGRP or RAMP1.
That's right.
And they're already being used for
Migraine.
migraines.
Because remember, CGRP is a big player in migraine pain.
Right. That's why we were talking about migraines earlier.
Exactly.
Okay, so they tested these drugs in mice.
Uh-huh.
And what did they find?
The results were really promising.
Okay.
They found that these drugs significantly reduced both pain
Yeah.
and lesion size in the mice.
That's amazing.
It is pretty amazing.
So are we talking about like a potential cure here?
Well, hold on a second. It's important to remember that this is still early research,
Right.
and we need to see how these drugs perform in human trials.
Of course. Yeah. It always takes a while to go from mice to humans.
It does.
But still, the initial findings are really exciting.
They are.
Yeah. The idea of having effective treatments that aren't hormonal
Right.
or opioid-based
That's the key.
is huge.
It's a huge step forward.
Absolutely.
And you know what's really interesting?
What?
Is that this study could have implications for other conditions, too.
Okay. How so?
Well, remember how we were talking about those nociceptors?
Yeah, the little pain alarm bells.
Exactly.
I love that analogy.
So CGRP seems to play a role in a whole host of chronic pain conditions,
Not just endometriosis.
not just endometriosis.
So this could be the key to unlocking new treatments
Potentially.
for all sorts of pain.
It's possible.
Wow, this is incredible.
It is pretty exciting research.
I have to admit, when we first started talking about CGRP and nociceptors, I was kind of like, what is going on?
It can be a little overwhelming,
Yeah.
all the scientific terms.
But the way you're explaining it's making so much sense.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, it's really fascinating.
It's all about making those connections,
Right.
relating it back to something we can all understand.
Right.
And pain is something everyone experiences.
Right.
So finding better ways to manage it,
Yeah,
that's a goal we can all get behind.
absolutely. So the study focused on blocking CGRP after lesions had already formed.
That's right.
But what if we could target this pathway earlier?
Oh, That's a great question.
Like even before the lesions form.
That's what we all want to know.
Right.
Can we stop it before it even starts?
Could we prevent the lesions from forming in the first place?
That's the dream, right?
That'd be amazing.
It would be amazing.
So is that something that researchers are looking into?
Absolutely.
What else are they working on in terms of CGRP and endometriosis?
Well, there's a lot of exciting work being done.
Like what?
Well, for example, they're trying to figure out exactly how CGRP interacts with those macrophages to create those pesky PMs.
Okay.
They're also looking into the long-term effects of CGRP blockers, and they're investigating other immune cells that might be involved.
So even though this study is super promising,
Yes.
it's really just the tip of the iceberg.
It is. It's just the beginning.
Wow.
There's so much more to learn.
This has been so interesting.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
I feel like I have a much better understanding of the complexity of endometriosis now.
It is a complex condition.
And all the potential for new treatments on the horizon.
Yeah, there's a lot of hope out there.
Before we wrap things up, I
Okay.
have one more question that's been bugging me.
Sure. What is it?
This is all so fascinating, but I'm thinking about everyone listening who's dealing with endometriosis right now.
Yeah.
What can they take away from all of this research?
Well, I think the biggest thing is hope.
Okay.
You know, for so long, treatment options have been limited and people have felt stuck with their pain.
Yeah,
This research really shows that scientists are making progress.
absolutely.
They're figuring out the underlying mechanisms
Hmm.
and they're developing new therapies.
And it's good to know.
Yeah,
You're not alone,
exactly.
and people are working on it.
There's a whole army of researchers out there working on this.
That's so important.
It is.
So that's kind of the big picture hope.
Yeah.
But what about concrete steps?
Okay.
Is there anything someone listening can do right now to benefit from this research?
Well, the best thing to do is always talk to your doctor
Right.
about any new research that you find interesting.
Especially with something like this that could potentially lead to new treatments.
Exactly.
They can help you understand how it applies to you
Right.
and your specific situation.
And whether any of the treatments that are being studied might be appropriate.
Because everyone's different.
Absolutely. Every case is unique.
And what works for one person might not work for another.
That's the challenge of medicine, isn't it?
It is.
Finding what works for each individual.
Speaking of personalized medicine,
Okay.
you mentioned earlier that researchers are looking for biomarkers to predict who might respond best to CGRP blockers.
Yes. That's a really hot area of research right now.
Can you remind me what biomarkers are
Oh, sure.
and how they can actually help personalize treatment?
Yeah. So biomarkers are basically like clues.
Okay.
They're measurable indicators that can tell us something about a person's health or disease state.
So it could be
It could be a specific gene,
okay.
a protein, or even a pattern of gene activity.
So for endometriosis,
Uh-huh.
researchers are looking for biomarkers.
Yes.
That can help them predict.
Predict how someone will respond to a particular treatment.
Okay. So that's helpful because then,
It's like having a personalized roadmap
oh,
to guide treatment decisions.
I like that.
Yeah.
So instead of just throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks,
Right.
you can actually use these biomarkers to say,
You can say, okay, this person is more likely to respond to this treatment.
yeah.
So let's start there.
So it's more targeted.
Exactly.
This is amazing.
It's pretty cool.
It sounds like we're moving away from this one-size-fits-all approach
Yeah.
to treatment.
We're getting away from the cookie cutter approach,
Yeah.
and we're moving towards something that's more tailored to the individual.
I love that.
Me too. It's really exciting.
So much has happened even in the past few years.
Oh, yeah. The field is moving so quickly.
It's incredible to see how these scientific discoveries can actually translate into real-world solutions.
And that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Helping people.
Improving people's lives.
Exactly.
So inspiring.
It is inspiring.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive
It's been my pleasure.
into the world of endometriosis research.
It's a fascinating topic.
It is.
And I think it's really important that we keep talking about it
To raise awareness.
to raise awareness.
And to support research.
Absolutely.
And to give hope to people who are struggling.
That's the key.
Yeah, I think our listeners learned a ton today.
I hope so.
This was fantastic.
It was fun.
To everyone listening out there, thank you for tuning in.
Yes, thank you.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Bye.